Well, let me introduce myself first. My name is Cronin. I'm the Community Natural Resources and Economic Development Educator with the Monroe County UW Extension Office. For those of you who might not be from this neck of the woods, Monroe County is the county just east of La Crosse County. So we are very much in the teeth of the development of the sand mining industry right now. We have sand that's very easily recovered. Most of it is pretty much just laying there loose under the overburden, so it's really easy to get. And dovetailing this presentation on transportation, we have lots and lots of rail access. As I'm sure many of you know, rail is kind of the key piece to a lot of this going forward. So, not that. They're big. The ones we do are big. So yeah, so what I'm going to talk about today, we'll spend some time on roads, the effect of heavy trucks on roads, what local governments can do about it. Then we'll touch on rail, river transportation, the kind of the future of Frac-sand transportation, and then time for some Q&A. I probably have, 10-15 minutes of prepared stuff, and we can do a lot of fun. So to start with road impacts, as I'm sure again a lot of you know, not all roads are created equal, right? We have different road surfaces, and some of them are much more able to stand up to heavy traffic than others. Interstates, you're going to see a lot of concrete. A lot of our town roads, you're not going to see very much of that. You're going to see a lot more blacktop or gravel. And this is, so the way heavy trucks damage roads is pretty simple. When you have a heavy load pass over a road surface, it can create cracks or ruts. It will create cracks or ruts, which allows water to infiltrate the road surface, and then through the freeze-thaw cycle, you get much, much more damage. So that's basically what's going on. Most sand mines developed in areas where the roads were not built for these loads. That's what I'm doing, right? So the question then becomes, what can local governments do about it? Because we've seen, you run 60, 70, 100 trucks a day up and down an old blacktop town road, you see damage very, very fast. So, again, this is my first time, by the way, using my little PowerPoint. I'm very excited. I don't have to do that. Weight limits. Now, for those of you who aren't from Wisconsin, this doesn't, I'm not familiar with Iowa and Minnesota road use law, but this is just in Wisconsin. The maximum legal gross vehicle weight would be 80,000 pounds, 40 tons. Okay? And all public roads in Wisconsin are considered Class A roads up front, allowing for that max 80,000 gross vehicle weight. However, this is the first step that local governments can take to sort of protect themselves. Again, in Wisconsin, if you're from not Wisconsin, consult your local legal counsel, or perhaps your Minnesota or Iowa extension has a local government center of some kind. In Wisconsin, under sections 349.15 and 349.16 of Wisconsin statutes, state, county, and local authorities can designate all or a portion of their system as Class B highway. Okay. And, this is important, 349.16.1c authorizes reimbursement for road damage. So what that means is, if you are able to, if you have a fly-by-night operation kind of deal, somebody's got a big hole in their backyard and they're taking out sand trucks one or two at a time, and you can monitor that and point to that road damage that they cause, it's in the statutes that you can, your local unit, your township or whatever, can be compensated. So what does Class B mean? It's a year-round designation that's in effect so long as signs are posted, and it reduces permitted weight to 60% of the legal load, 48,000 pounds, gross vehicle weight, 24 tons. Okay. And I'll back up and add that the really important time of year to have the weight limits in place, and you can do seasonal weight limits too and all that stuff, is spring. Because when you're having snow melt, and then all that water is under the subgrade of the road. It makes it much more easy for those heavy loads to damage it. So you can do seasonal weight limits too. This is a short presentation, so we're, again, for all local governments. But yeah, so this is Class B is a year-round designation. The trick is, in Wisconsin, a load is exempt from the limit if picking up or dropping off on a Class B road. Okay. So in other words, if you, and this goes back to, I believe, the early 2000s, and it's put in place primarily for milk haulers, if I understand correctly. What that means is, if this road's Class B, but the mine's on it, they can leave with their load at 80,000 pounds because they picked it up there. And conversely, if your transloading facility is on a Class B road, they can arrive there at 80,000 pounds gross vehicle weight because they're dropping off there. But they have to respect limits on other roads. So it makes it kind of, you guys follow me on
So
that?
if you turn on whatever Cooley Road, and then the mine's actually on County D or something, right? So like, okay, so you're on Cooley Road, you get on the county highway, and you go to your mine. So it came in empty, it's picking up, it's got 80,000 pounds, so it enters County D at the proper limit. But then when it hits the Cooley Road,
It would be overweight.
And then it would be overweight.
Right. Yeah. Precisely, yeah. So that's a situation where if you've got your sheriff's department or your state patrol, and some of them, as I understand it now, they're getting better about being out there with a mobile scale, and they're for ag equipment too, actually enforcing those much more effectively. So, but then again, that is an issue where for rural governments, maybe rural counties where you don't have that much capacity to police this stuff.
But they're never going to check around us.
Well, yeah, it's something, go to your town board meeting, go to your county board meeting and push on it, basically. But they can do that, and the state patrol is out there too, but they don't have that.
I don't think going to the county, what I've seen is the county board and government bottom line is for the same.
Yeah.
You almost have to call the DNR headquarters and get them.
The
state of Wisconsin.
They're in favor of mining too. I mean, I've had all the DNR guys from our area, and none of them.
I'm at the state patrol.
They don't care.
I'm at the state patrol. They're a little more ethical.
Maybe,
Sometimes.
that's just
on the
at the
average.
road, so maybe we can do something there. Sure.
Yeah, so that's basically where we're at with Class B. Now, because of everything you guys are saying, and you're all correct, I mean, we're low on capacity right now to deal with this for whatever reason. Please don't be mad at me. Negotiation. Okay. This is a strategy that if you talk to the Wisconsin Towns Association, they're going to really advocate for getting out front. If you're going to get a mine, work with them as much as you can. Deal with
Before
them.
they get the permit.
Right. I mean, yeah, because this is, and it's a rule of thumb. They're here to make money, and they'll work with you. But again, you have to be upfront with it, and remember that your basis for negotiation often lies in your statute, in your authority under statutes to do things like weight limits, issue conditional use permits if you're zoned, things like that. So it's important, what the slide is getting at is it's important, if you're looking at negotiating with a mine, know what you have the power to do. Okay. So whenever I have the township call me and say, what are we going to do about this? I say, I'm not a lawyer. You all have the court counsel, you have your legal counsel, talk to them up front. Figure out what you have the authority to do. Make sure you know that inside and out. And then tell them, yeah, okay, maybe you got all your permits through the state, maybe you're coming in, but we are going to need to set some rules here. And they're here to make money. Yes, sir.
What I'm doing with my bike trails is getting them to use alternate routes other than around my bike trails. I've gotten 2 miles to switch their road. Getting them to sponsor signage, to pay for some of the stuff they're messing up. The ones that are here I can't get rid of. And one of the guys that's consulted for the sand mines, and the way we're working it now is if we get in there and we talk to somebody and we say this is what we're looking for, and they say no, well then we go into the meeting and say we met with these people and we said this is what we wanted, we don't see that, and they said Well, that gives you a lot more clout to say, I think we shouldn't permit this mine because these people are not filling the work. I mean, as long as you're not being completely unrealistic and unreasonable, you know. But most people don't take the time to call these people. They're afraid to call them. They're so mad before they even get there that they forget these are good things.
That's a great comment. And it's what we see a lot. And a good example of this is I have Chippewa County as a case study. And I know Chippewa County, but in the process of all these mines going in, they were able to negotiate, both Chippewa County and the town of Cooks Valley, road upgrade and maintenance agreements, okay, that as of August 1 of last year totaled at least $8 million. Okay, so, you know, which is not an insignificant amount of money, you know, in the context of anybody's road budget. So, what this allowed them to do is research, and by the way, if you guys want to see the reports on this stuff, send me an email, I'll get it right out to you. You got a card? Yeah, and my contact info will be on the end here too. So, okay. So $8 million, not chump change, and you know, it enabled them to, because what they do, I don't know, anybody familiar with the operations of Chippewa County, the way they're doing it?
I know Tilden, County B by Tilden,
Okay,
has been torn up 3 times, and I have heard from the county board member that they did get $8 million for clearing that road.
right. The one place, if you're in Chippewa Falls or outside of Chippewa, I'm not from there exactly, I've been by, but there's a great big processing and transload facility that you've probably all driven by. I think so, yeah. And what that facility's doing is they actually have a couple of mines kind of out in the boonies, and they're using a fleet of trucks. They're trucking it from the mine to the processing plant where they're washing it and grading it and, you know, drying it and putting it on rail cars and sending it out. So what they did, I mean, a lot of this $8 million was to essentially take those routes those trucks are using from those mines into to essentially, I believe, make them concrete. So to bring them up to the standard where they're not going to be thrown up by these heavy trucks. And I think they might actually have some kind of under 80,000 pound weight limit on those trucks too. I'm not sure.
They're nice trucks. They don't have that. I've noticed that like some of the other ones, I don't see the fugitive sand off of them.
Right.
And they are good. I've heard they've gotten guys fired for engine oil and stuff like that. They're computerized. There's some good qualities there. My issue right now will be when you get to red.
Okay. Well, I'll be happy to hear about that. Yeah, but so this is, you know, again, they're here to make money, pure and simple, and they stand to make a lot of it. So if you approach them from the standpoint of, okay, you're probably going to be here, whether we like it or not, and you work with them, you can get concessions.
Even after that.
Right. You know, because they, you know, they're
now that mine I think in Chippewa was before that, and they did work.
Right. And again, this is with the caveat as well, and there's I'm talking primarily here about the bigger corporate mines. Okay. Yes, there are these fly-by-nighters that are just taking a few trucks a day out of the hole on the back 40 to some other processing plant somewhere. But the good news, we'll get to the good news about them in a few. So now rail. So we'll talk about it, Lenny. Rail is really our ideal mode of transport for this stuff because it's really heavy and there's a lot of it. And what does rail do well? Moves lots of heavy stuff. And so the limitations we have are, you know, in this country we spent 20 years chopping back our mainline rail capacity, you know. Right. And now all of a sudden there's all this demand. And if you look, this is just our corner of the state. This is the DOT rail map. Here's Monroe County, right down here. This is where my neck of the woods. We got the CP going there. We got the Union Pacific going up here. And so the Bakken, right out here in the Dakotas where they're fracking. You got the BNSF and the CP going south, down to Texas. Where they're, so it's really, you know, they've got rail assets here to get the stuff out. But, again, mainline density is a problem because they pulled out a lot of double track a long time ago. Now they got one. Limited transloading facilities. Okay. So in Monroe County, we're actually kind of lucky because we do have so much rail. Most of our big mines are right on there. So once they got them going, we don't just have no trucks in. They're just putting it right on trains. So we're kind of lucky in that respect. But for these places that might not have that kind of rail access, there are limited transloading facilities to take the sand off a truck and put it on a train. And then siding and car availability. You know, there's
not enough cars right now. They're building as fast as they can, but they're just not coming out fast enough. So a lot of it's still getting trucked.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, but even in the town, I'll tell you, even in the town. Okay, two things. This is just
After you're done.
Yeah. Okay. So, full disclosure, I'm a train nerd. I like trains. I'm interested. And I've been here 2 years. And even in the 2 years I've been here, the consists of these trains, freight trains, have just changed completely. It's just sand. It's just hoppers going that way, full of sand, and great big bulk oil tankers coming in just 2 years. So anyway, but yes, sir.
You see the map right quick? This map and then the map of Wisconsin and the sand, the mines on it, and combine them together.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. So yeah, rail ideal mode of transport, but again, there are limitations. They're working on overcoming those. The rail industry is, because they stand to make a lot of money on this too. And then barge. Barging is kind of an excellent option when it works for you, because it really only goes south, it doesn't go west. And again, you know, we have those limitations in port availability. You know, it's there's not necessarily a port most convenient to where you can, where the sand is. Wow, I thought I was going to be standing here going, okay, what are we going to talk about? So yeah, barge is an option if it is appropriate for your situation. But if you're taking the sand down, if you need to go take it down to Texas or the Gulf or something, you do that. So conclusions. And this is where we hit that question of those with fly-by-nighters on their back 40. As the market for sand matures, transportation limitations will probably weed them out, okay? Because as we get these big corporate mines that are shipping out hundreds of tons of sand, thousands of tons of sand a week, those little guys aren't going to be able to compete. Again, that's a generality. And in that, rail and barge access, when practical, will be a major determining factor. So the big mines are going to need that to stay around. And lastly, I mean, if you have a mine moving in and you're concerned for your roads, consult your legal counsel right now and negotiate. I mean, and that's basically the three takeaways that I have today for you guys. And so we have a little time for Q&A or discussion. Yes, sir.
Rail.
Yes, sir.
I have a big problem with rail. I need to use it.
Oh, sure.
Anyhow, I finally got to the point. I used to be a police officer. I went back in the military, got tired of politics, retired. And I remember about these congressional recruiters all the time. So I figured I wrote to the senator requesting congressional rail investigation because I'm getting nobody from Chippewa County from the highest to the lowest is doing not a thing. And yet they'll put a police officer on a rail car to say, hey, we're going to see if we can catch these cars beating the train. But nobody is enforcing it in Chippewa County, like we talked about that big sand plant, time and time again. Even though I live in Water in Chippewa County, people are still talking about, and even the hospital people are talking about how that big sand plant is blocking that road in excess of the state statute of 192 and 92, and nobody is enforcing it. I've called DOT down in Madison. Oh, we only do the signs and the signals. No enforcement. I finally got a hold of a federal guy, but still I have seen no satisfaction. And they keep blocking it for in excess of 10 minutes. Right. And then when you get 6 people calling the same guy, you get 3 different or 6 different answers. But yet they'll tell the sheriff, well, we got anything for that.
So where they're like loading the rail cars.
Yeah, and that's incorrect. That's
what
they need to do.
$500 is all the fine is.
Yeah, but they don't do it.
Well, who cares?
I call
$500.
I call Progressive Rail time and time again, and he's cutting on Gurnett or whatever from Woodbury has come up with basically, I can do whatever I want. Rail area. And I'm like, you know what? This is uncalled for.
Do you have you been in touch with the Wisconsin DOT at all? Or?
Oh yeah. Okay. Those are the ones that told me that they only do signals.
The only thought I have on that is I know the rail guy a little bit there. I can give you his contact. Frank Huntington, have you talked to?
I don't know, Heather Anderson over there has been talking to him a little bit more, because I got out of politics, I got crooks,
Right.
and that's where I'm
Oh,
at.
well.
Everybody's a crook, and nobody wants to do their job. I served my country for 22 years in the mud, and I got these guys with suits that won't even come out and talk to you, or look you in the eye. Come on!
Well, yeah, send me an email, and I don't, that's a little bit beyond my pay grade, I guess, but yeah, I'll send you the guy's name.
Well, and again, when you deal with law enforcement, you want a solution.
Sure.
You know, you don't want somebody to give you a song and dance and send you down the road. And then when I decided to crawl on the railroad, and my brother did, not that he got arrested, but you know, again, a Canadian national came up into our neck of the woods, and they came into the schools and warned everybody, hey, the rail's coming back up. Well, I told them about Progressive Rail. Well, that's a third-rate railroad.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with this constant problem. And then when you've got a train that's on a sidecar filling up its cars and sitting in the residential neighborhood all day long, as it slowly moves back, the local marshal or the police department won't do nothing. It's an ordinance violation on noise. And don't do nothing. But by God, if I crawl up on the train, I might get arrested.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be a happy solution for fixing this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Or I go postal, and now I'm blamed for being the bad guy. But nobody will look at this, at what caused me to go postal. You know what I mean? I'm not like that. You know?
Well, they might, but they would report it correctly.
Right.
There you go.
We have a question over here.
Well, I'm not sure, it might be.
Okay.
We just had a conditional use application in the zone to put in a transfer facility as a conditional use under A. So, let's think about that. Is there any way, shape, or form a transfer facility can be interpreted as an agricultural activity?
I tell you what, that's something that I don't have, I'm not a law guy.
And that's who I'm talking to already.
Right,
Hold
but
on.
you can also send me an email, because what we have at UW
I
Extension.
have it already, so I have your information.
Okay, yeah, and I can put you in touch with our local government law guy.
That's how.
Or, no, that's the Towns Association.
Oh,
This is a guy named Phil Freeberg at the local government center.
Okay, I'm, thank you.
I have one more question. You know, what you talk about is great.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're all the choir. And to me, the non-choir are our village boards, our city boards, our county boards, our state. Do they ever ask you to come in and talk about it? All they do is they let these sand people come in and talk. Joe Citizen, Jane Citizen only gets 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Sure.
I can tell you our whole county board, all the towns board in the county were invited to this, and I don't know them.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you, speaking as an extension educator, we're here to be as much a research-based, non-biased resource as we can be. And if a township or the county board called us and said, will you come and explain to us what you know about this, we would do it. We absolutely would.
We had the DOT and DNR and the city engineers all sit down and give PowerPoint presentations to a meeting between the town of Lincoln and the city of Whitehall. And so they what the DNR can and can't do, what the DOT will and will not do, and it's surprising like how little they will do. Pretty much that the weight limitations and proper maintenance.
Let me put it to you this way. I go out into the township around New Auburn, the village of New Auburn. The weight limit there is less than what it is in town because of the, I love sand. And how do you fight city hall?
Over and over and over.
I know.
You just don't give up.
And I'm there, you know.
I don't know what the situation is in Wisconsin and Minnesota. A lot of the small developments were well, like the river,
Right, rail trail, sure.
trails.
Yeah.
So like they were rails and trails. But now I see people talking about, well, trails
to
to
rails.
rails. Now what, how?
I got a call into the Trails to Trails out in Washington DC and they never called me back.
I mean,
So they're gonna
in
reconvert
Wisconsin,
them?
rails to trails, there's the land is deed restricted and there's a lot, I mean.
The railroad still owns it and you can use it to bike on all you want, that's great, but if we want it back at some point,
That's
we
Karen's
can
right,
back.
yeah. But
It
if
says it right in
there's
your
state
code.
stewardship money, which a lot of those are funded by, there's a lot of legal
They
debt
could.
protection.
They're saying- so
Doesn't mean
they're
you have to
already
fight
Not
for them and
really,
defend them, but
the
they're.
railroads are all run
It says
on
it right in
1890 rules, which
And is this
like
Wisconsin, do you know?
predate a lot of what we have, and there's, literally, it all came out of when
they're
the railroads
floating
were
this,
going,
like,
or the
you're seeing
trains
it
were going down the
get riled
railroads
up.
in the pole, and the sparks were going out and starting.